Okay.
Awesome. Okay. Well, greetings, everyone. My name is Brittany Nicole, and I am the founder of Divine Connections. I'm actually going to start over because I should be looking at the camera, right? You don't have to stop it. I'll just cut out.
Okay,
I'll just edit this to look directly at the camera. not in that.
Look at the camera.
Okay.
Looks better.
Gotcha. Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany Nicole, and I am the founder of Divine Connections, which is a Christian nonprofit organization that promotes spiritual, professional, and community development. And I'm here with a really good friend. His name is Chris Parham, and he is the owner and CEO of Contract Right and Log On Tutor. So today we're just going to ask him a couple of questions. And one of the biggest things that I'm really trying to get from my friends and Christian business owners is to discuss how they are fusing business and faith together. So that's a lot of what we're going to talk to Mr. Parham today about. But we're just going to start off with getting a little bit of information in regards to his business. So what do you do?
Okay, so my first business that I started is called Log On Tutor, and you can find a tutor locally or online, get 200 plus academic subjects for subjects that you need to learn: algebra, math, French, Spanish, and you can get a tutor locally in person or online.
Okay.
You can get background check tutors or also have a tutor run a background check. So either way, but it's a great resource for people who are trying to further their education. They have a child that wants to, further their education, or they have a challenge, so they can get tutoring help.
Okay.
And then my second business is Contract Right. And what it does is if you have a professional skill, you can list yourself, and then people can contact you for free. So if you needed a logo, if you need a programmer, you needed someone to help you with SEO. So the idea is to provide a free resource for businesses, but you do pay a small listing fee to be listed as a professional.
Okay, awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about your background and your story, how you actually led up to your business, if you don't mind me asking.
Okay, so I've always, since a child, I've been selling stuff. So in my neighborhood, I would sell basketball cards, and in high school, I would sell mixed tapes. So I was always selling something.
Right.
So growing up, I've always been an entrepreneur, and I've had a desire to, that was one of my dreams, create a business. So before the Lord saved me, I used to just go to bed with like Hoover's. There's these Hoover business books, and you can read about emerging businesses. You can read about the biggest private businesses, and it gives a portfolio about these businesses. So like people go to bed with their Bible next to them. I would go to bed with these Hoover books next to my bed.
Okay.
Yeah. So my goal is to be the wealthiest, the richest man in the world. So I would study these people like Rockefeller. He would have a journal and record every dollar he spent. I'd study Warren Buffett, who had hundreds of companies. So I would study these different people, and I'd try to model my life. Russell Simmons, he was in hip hop and all that, and he was vegan, so then I became vegan. I read his book. I started meditating and all this stuff because I looked up to these people.
Right.
And it's interesting. I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, highlighting Christians, because there are a lot of young people, they're impressionable.
Right.
So they look up to these people. So I didn't have anyone like proclaiming Jesus. Like all these people were just like, they're out there, they had success, but you didn't hear the backdrop of, oh, I have a relationship with the Lord, or, it didn't point me into that. But anyhow, I always had that desire. I'd sit in the library and read these stock books and look at stocks. So I've always had an inkling towards business. So just since a child.
Okay.
So eventually, later on in life, the Lord saved me. I got tired of business. I didn't want to do that calling. It was like business would hurt. It would bother me. I'm sitting in business school and I'm like, oh man, all this, like it's just annoying. And I loved it before, but it was like everyone was just so, it was getting like the greed and people just always want to make money. It got a little tiring for me. And I thought of a major that I could do that's like neutral, so information technology. So that was something, technology can be used for good or evil. So it's a neutral kind of platform. So I like technology. So now my businesses are in technology, and the Lord was leading me to get into technology. And I was like, Lord, why do you want me to be going to information systems as a major? I'm like, why?
Right.
You know what I mean? I didn't understand that. I was thinking accounting. You know, I mean, I would account every dollar. If I gave a bum some money, I accounted bum expense. This
Did y'all
is,
just hear that?
yeah. I had a graph, how much I gave, the pie chart,
Okay.
everything. I was ordering. Rockefeller, he kept every dollar, so I was like, I need to do this. I don't, now I don't know what happened to that discipline. I don't have it like that, but I'm just saying, but I had these meticulous records and everything, and I would study, like, what am I spending, this and that.
Okay, well that takes me to a question. One of the questions that I do have is, since you're stating that you definitely love business, but you're now doing it in a different way, what would you state is the hugest difference between how sometimes they're doing business in the world versus Christian business? What is the difference in the principles?
Well, one, it talks about, like, who will you serve? You know, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, all thy mind, all thy soul, and all thy strength, and thy neighbor as thyself. So, you know, God gets the root, like, who will you serve? You know, like Joshua, as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. Over and over in the Old Testament, it'd say, who are you going to serve? So you can end up serving money, your own success.
Right.
So in the kingdom of God, I'd say your plans become secondary. So you have to align your will with God's will. That's a difference. So it's not about, okay, if God doesn't want me to do these businesses or doesn't want me to do it, then I can't go in that direction. So I have to be led by how He wants me to go.
Right.
You know, that's a difference where before it's all about yourself. Like, let me go. Let me build this, like, Tower of Babel. I have reaches to heaven.
Yeah.
So it's like, let me build a name for myself. But in the difference in the kingdom is we glorify God. So we say, okay, God, thank you. I acknowledge that you are the one who's providing for me. You're the one helping me. You're giving me health and strength. Whereas the world, people subscribe to themselves. They start becoming like gods. They start, you know, they say, oh, it was my hard work. It was my ability. It was my business dealings. It was, you know, they can glory in themselves where we glory in the Lord. And the main thing is, like, who are you going to serve? So sometimes I'd advise people, don't mind being put sometimes in the back. Like Moses, he would lead the children of Israel later, but God was preparing him to lead. So sometimes God can have us in that same manner. So just be sensitive to God's will. And then if He says to do this, go forward, conquer. You know, you can take over the land. You can possess it. You can have these things. Just ask.
Okay. And that's a good segue into, you know, oftentimes we hear that money is the root of all evil, but we know that money, in order to run a business, it takes money.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't matter if you are a Christian or non-Christian, whatever your business is, it needs some type of support and money.
Yeah.
So how do you handle that with, you know, sometimes growing up in the church and you hear that, you know, if you accumulate too much money, that can end up to a bad road. So how do you balance that?
I think I've learned through scriptures, when I first got saved, I gave away so much stuff. I had, like, Lacoste shirts, giving them away. Wish I had them now. Like, they're fresh. Like, I gotta provide. You know what I mean? I'm not worried about it. But what I'm saying is, I was just giving away stuff, and I didn't realize that those were blessings from God. So people can get so, you could get so deep that you don't realize, hey, God is blessing you, and you have to be a good steward.
Yeah.
So now, you give this guy, let's say you give somebody this money who's on drugs. So you emptied out your bank account and you're like, oh, let me go help people and all this stuff, but they're not being good stewards. They don't even hold a job. They don't do what's right. So why am I going to sit up and do those kinds of actions? So God had to give me wisdom, because I would read the scriptures about they ask, give to them. And it might not necessarily be you have to give them a possession, but it could be you could give them a word to tell them, hey, brother, you gotta align yourself like with the principles of God. So with that, I look at like patriarchs like Job. Job was very wealthy. I believe the Bible talks about being the wealthiest man in the East. Abraham, very wealthy. These guys would be like modern day billionaires. But the thing is, they had a relationship with the Lord. So whether or not they had wealth or not, they still had a constant relationship. So when Job lost his stuff, he still had a relationship with God. So I would say for Christians, the main thing is your relationship with God. If he positions you to have that, that's great. And, you know, talks about Timothy, like how to help people in need and bless people. But I would just say that it's not something I'm scared about, you know, or worried about. David, Solomon, these patriarchs, Joseph, even in the New Testament, rich man provided for Jesus' grave. So over and over, you see that it's how you use your wealth. So it's just a tool. So, but the problem can be is you always have your mind on your money, and now that's become a god, and now you put that above God. You know, if God calls us to say, well, I want you right now to go do missions, and you won't have all this material stuff, then you have to say, yes, Lord, it's not about your will. And if he says, open up businesses and I'm going to make you like a Bill Gates, and I'm going to funnel money through you to help people, help churches, bless people, be a blessing. You know, sick people, maybe they need a medical bill, people of college. So there's all different ways like God works. So I wouldn't put him in a box, and I'll just let God shape and mold the person.
I agree. So yeah, that's definitely what I was hearing you saying. It's not necessarily about accumulating a great amount of money, but it's more so of the content, or excuse me, the condition of the heart, which will show how you view money. Yeah. Okay. All right. Because I know that if I'm going to be in business, I want some money. Yes. But I also want the wisdom to be able to know how to steward it. Yes. Okay. Also, and just as a disclaimer, I do want to state that these segments that we're going to do is not a secular versus Christian business. Is that this is the lifestyle that I live. I am a Christian and I'm a business owner. So I want to talk about how God has favored me and how God has, blessed me with a business. So I don't want it to be that, but I definitely want us as Christians to be able to throw those nuggets out here in regards to how God is sustaining our business. Okay. So I think that's awesome. I love what you're doing. I think you're doing a lot of amazing things. I want you to stay tuned to what he's doing. He is an awesome business owner, an awesome man of God. So if you can just give them the information in regards to how they can contact you, that would be great. Okay, so the best way, if you need a tutor, you can just go on your phone or just go to your browser, type in logontutor.com. And then you can find tutors locally, online, 200 plus academic subjects nationwide. And also my sister business, I call it a sister business because Log On Tutor was started, and then Contract Right, it gave birth to Contract Right. And Contract Right, just go to contractright.com, and that's a place where you can find professionals and also list your professional skills so people can contact you. Awesome. So I want to throw that out there before we end. And the last question that I want to ask you is, right now, how are you personally fusing business and faith into your business? Whew, okay, interesting. Well, a big part is service. So looking at different dynamics, I'm looking at one thing as having a aggressive servanthood culture. So what I mean by that, an aggressive servanthood culture is you anticipate the needs. So let's say you have a business, you think about their process and what they're going through, and then you figure out a way to be a help. So for instance, if you know this is a problem, you create a system where you actually serve them in a way that's pleasing or delightful to them. So now your brand becomes a stronger brand. Now, as a smaller business, sometimes you don't have all the resources,
But little by little, you can strategize and start applying, figuring out ways that you can have an aggressive servanthood culture. So you anticipate their needs. So if someone needed their beverage refreshed, you would be there ready.
Right.
Instead of them like, oh, where's my beverage? You know what I mean? Get an attitude. You're there, ready.
Ready to serve
You're
them.
ready to serve them. Instead of like, they're wondering like, let's say in the church, is someone going to pray for me? Aggressive be like, I see they crying. Like I see they might need encouragement. It doesn't take a rocket science.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is, you see someone with their glass out, you know. So when you instill that servanthood culture into your company, I think it can be a great blessing to generate cash, because your business will stand out above others, because people will be drawn by your services that you provide, that you actually care, that you actually listen, that you're paying attention to them.
Right. Okay. I think that's awesome. Yeah. And that's where I want to be able to really, God is working on me with shifting my mentality with my business as making sure that I'm serving people. And I think that is something that is a valuable key, is that, yes, I have something that people can use. I have something that I offer, so it's not necessarily about me, but it's what the customer needs, because they're the ones who are paying and keeping me, sustainable. Of course, it's the Lord, but He's bringing people to me. And my job is to make sure that I'm serving them well. So I love that you brought that up. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about in the next segment, is the importance of serving others within your business. So I think that's about all we have for today, but I thank you for coming out. This was awesome.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing this on a very consistent basis. I want to talk to a new Christian business owner once a month. So if you're interested, you can definitely hit me up on divineconnections.global or email me at divineconnectionsmail@gmail.com. And again, my name is Brittany.